welcome back to the Boffix round table. If you remember last month, we pitted some of our team members and we asked them questions that you, our customers, have been asking. If you've got questions or anything you'd like answered on the Boffix round table, don't forget to give us a message at hello@boffix.com. What we're going to do now is going to go around the room and we're going to actually ask some of our members some key topics that they've gone through. So first of all, if everyone wants to give a nice wave to the universe. Hello, everybody. Brilliant. So let's not keep everyone waiting. Let's go straight into our first topic, and probably the topic that most people have had issues with. Nathan, would you like to start it off?
Yeah, so my topic today is actually furlough. I know it's quite a broad topic, but it's just something that we've had more and more questions from our clients come through, so I thought it's something that'd be good to bring out today. It's more just in respect of, obviously, with us going into a second lockdown. There's the furlough scheme has reopened, and the thing is that I don't think enough people actually realise how open it is this time compared to the first lockdown. In regards to the first lockdown, they actually said you had to be on the payroll by the end of February. But at this point, with this second lockdown, as long as your employees or yourself as a director, you can claim back the 8% of your wages as long as you was on your payroll from October.
Yeah, and that's a really key point, isn't it, Nathan? Can you think, or does anyone want to shout out and think about how many of our clients roughly was in that first one? Because there's quite a few that weren't eligible, wasn't there?
Yeah, I'd absolutely say so. I think this year, well, as things have already been getting better before all of this COVID stuff happened, we've had a lot of new businesses and clients wanting to start limited companies and therefore pay themselves through those limited companies. And well, because of these unprecedented times and the lockdown that kind of came out of nowhere, we've got people who established themselves at the end of February or the beginning of March who haven't really had a chance to really catch up with payroll. So now that it's reopened to people who have got payroll at the end of October, it's absolutely been very, very good for them.
And Kirsty, you kind of obviously the kind of ins and outs of what clients are talking about. What's been the uptake of furlough? Have you seen that kind of lot of clients are taking it, or?
Yeah, with furlough, it was month-to-month basis. And after the first lockdown, we had quite a few clients that were slowly getting back into work. So we had people go on to flexible furlough, which is still an option if you are working, but not working as many hours as you did. And so the numbers started to dwindle. We sent out our form last week, and the numbers are definitely a lot higher. I think some people are aware, okay, this is a new furlough starting from October. So some people are, but I feel like there's possibly more that aren't aware. And so we're going to, of course, remind our clients to fill that in so we can get it done for them. But it would be nice for everyone to just double check. I mean, I've got friends that were hired in October working in restaurants, and now they're on furlough. That were out of a job before that. So it's just key for everyone to know. Yeah,
definitely good point there. Jack, so with furlough then, how easy has it been for our clients to claim? Has it been a hard process, or what's it been like?
So what we do is we send out a Google Doc form, which enables us to receive as much information as possible when we're filling out our claim. What it gives is like if they're on a full furlough or whether they're on a flexible furlough, what they need to do is basically give how many hours they would have worked or how many hours they did work. And what we do is we would then, as long as we're doing their payroll, and they've got a payroll scheme, we would enter their information onto HMRC and therefore claim the maximum amount that they can claim for. And then after 5 or 6 days, that money will be in their bank account.
Brilliant. Nathan, this was your topic, so this is a
yeah. So I was just about to add on there. I will let everybody know that Rishi will actually be rethinking about the job retention scheme. As we know, it was actually meant to go into what was called the job support scheme. But we do know actually going forward, this is actually going to be there till roughly about the end of January, and then they'll give out further guidance of what's going to be happening next. Just purely through speculation, we're assuming it's going to be exactly the same as what happened last time, where it'll go from 80% of your wages to 70% of your wages, and finally with the 60% of your wages ending. And we're maybe thinking about end of March area, but we're just waiting on guidance for that as of yet.
Yeah, definitely. And where's the best place for them to keep up to date on the news then, Nathan?
If you just news, I'd probably say I know myself, just to make sure it's always credible information that I'm actually reading. I always do go to the HMRC website. There's more than enough there. There's enough to keep you going for days. But it's just always making sure that you're up to date with exactly what's happening at the present moment.
Yeah, and they like to keep us on their toes, don't they? So they have been updating stuff on a semi-regular basis, which is all in the need of helping out clients. So
I would say, sorry,
Okay.
Aaron, I was going to say as
Okay.
well, if you're not so inclined to reading many pages of the HMRC, that Aaron actually does give out advice and updates on our YouTube channel. So if you're already here watching this, you're just one click away. But that's also a really good place to get like the most up-to-date news in a more easy and visual way.
That's what we're aiming for, isn't it? And that's from everyone in the team here. So
Mhm.
that's the self-employed income support team. I'm going to put you on the spot here, James. Anything
Yeah.
different with self-employed? Sorry, that's the job. I've just given the game away there. So that's the job retention scheme. What about the self-employed income support scheme? Any news on or updates on that one?
In terms of the self-employed, the new self-employed scheme, as it stands, I'm sorry, could we skip? I don't actually know. Sorry, I'm really sorry.
It falls in line. So it goes.
Falls in line.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same.
I
Okay,
need to
cool.
put claps in because that's where I went wrong last time. If I don't see a clap, sometimes I might skip and not bother doing it. So
Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
about that. I wasn't sure. That's fine.
that's fine.
Cool.
It's fine. Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it falls in line. So it's exactly the same. It's literally like for like.
Great.
So James, the job support scheme has obviously changed. What about the self-employed income support scheme? Anything there that we should be aware of?
So the self-employed scheme has actually had the same sort of benefits as the job retention scheme in its extension, in exactly the same sort of way as the job retention scheme, i.e. it's going to go up to the end of January, and then the government are then going to weigh it based on how bad the coronavirus situation is at that point.
Yeah, exactly. One thing to remember though, we as accountants can't help with that scheme in terms of applying for it and everything else. So do keep an eye on your email. If you have had an email, then just act on it accordingly. Obviously, you can ask us for advice or ask us if it's the right thing to do or if it's the right thing to take or anything like that. But unfortunately, with the self-employed income support scheme, we're not able to apply that. Okay, so with that, then we're going to move on to. Oh, go for it.
I was just going to say as well, you've just mentioned about HMRC emailing people who are self-employed. I just want to quickly throw something in to say that HMRC don't make phone calls to you and they don't send text messages. We've had this quite a bit recently. HMRC will only contact you by letter, and in this instance by email. So if you do get any phone calls or text messages, usually it is a scam, but if you are concerned, you can always come and ask us, and we can speak to HMRC, especially if you're one of our clients.
Great point. Yeah, don't get scammed. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been taking this opportunity to try their luck on it. So yeah, excellent advice there, Kirsty. Okay, so next up was Jack. Jack, what's your topic for today?
So my topic is the use of tags and rules in QuickBooks for people that do their own bookkeeping mainly.
Fantastic. So why did you bring this one up? What reasons would you say is the benefit of it?
So QuickBooks have recently introduced tags. This allows you to add different words, like a different tag on each transaction. So once you're doing your daily bookkeeping, you can either add a tag saying no attachment or chase supplier for attachment, things like that. And then once you come round to do your monthly bookkeeping, then you can either chase that up and looking on your tags on QuickBooks and then reviewing it and then do what you need to do to get those tags removed, and then from there everything should run smoothly. With rules, we want to make sure that people are doing their bookkeeping as efficiently as possible. So if you've got regular suppliers that are on direct debits that you don't really want to keep posting, you can set up a rule so every time it hits the bank account, it gets automatically posted. So what this does, it makes you more efficient and it gives you less time on bookkeeping and more time doing what actually you want to do. So if you were more, it gives you more time to actually do client work for your own clients, and it gives you more time to work on things you need to more than your day-to-day bookkeeping.
Yeah, great point there, Jack. Great. And it is a really useful element. So Nathan, have you got any kind of use case scenarios you can think off the top of your head?
Yeah,
Other
so
than what Jack's already said, but any
So a big part of it for us recently is to do with one of our clients, and they've actually been struggling to get invoices off one of their suppliers, but they have previously actually sent in VAT receipts where they've had VAT claimed, like it's got all the stuff there, your VAT number, or just all the credentials they love to see on a VAT receipt. But what we've actually been able to do is we've actually been able to claim back VAT. When usually we would usually maybe stay away from a bit just to make sure that we're compliant with HMRC. So what we've done is we've claimed back the VAT for now, but then we've also tagged the transaction, added it to the VAT return, and told the client. Basically, what we've just said is that we've claimed back the VAT as of now because we can see that others have got VAT, because the other invoices have got VAT on it. But if we don't get it by the end of your next VAT quarter, we are actually going to have to re-add the VAT onto that transaction. So it's just making sure that it's a really good way of basically letting the clients know that there's an issue here. We've done this for now, but it's only a temporary marker, really, more than anything. And I know in this trouble sometimes where clients are sometimes finding it hard to pay the VAT bill, it's something that's actually really helped them out.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the key point here is discoverability. So it's all about giving us a way, and you as a client, a way of being able to go find a transaction again. So that's where plugins really come in. James, have you got? Oh, go for it.
Yeah, I would just like to add a bit on here. This is actually still a beta version into QuickBooks, which means you need to go into your company cog at the top right, follow it down on the first aisle. It'll be a QuickBooks Lab point there. Go into QuickBooks Lab and you will see a nice big bar that says tags. If you just enable that, that is where it'll all come through.
Great point, Nathan. Well done. Yeah. So James, can you think of any use cases for rules that Jack brought into play?
So as Jack said, they're very, very useful for consistent supplies and things. It's also good for if you need to split a transaction. A good example of this is, say, a car lease. If you're VAT registered, you can actually only claim VAT on half of a car lease. So half of that amount, you can claim 20% of only half of that, and then the rest is exempt. And with QuickBooks' rules, you can actually put a rule in place to split that transaction into two halves and then claim VAT on one of the halves and have the others exempt. So it has that extra layer of consistency and that extra layer of taking these rules and accounting principles into place that perhaps you maybe get missed in daily bookkeeping because there's such a high volume of transactions as such. So having that consistently month on month or day by day or week by week, definitely very, very, very useful.
Yeah, brilliant example there. And it really is that whole idea where you can kind of sit back and relax because you don't have to keep your eye out for that particular transaction because you know
absolutely
it properly. It can be huge, can't it? And it's the difference between someone getting a penalty and not getting a penalty, and getting told off by HMRC and not getting told off. So yeah, great point there. Okay, so anyone else for rules or tags? I think we've covered that one. Great topic, that one. James, you've got a great topic for us as well, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. So, well, as this year has gone ridiculously quickly, we are slowly but surely getting closer and closer to March 2020. And I've been doing a little bit of reading, and HMRC have been producing some more guidance on the fact that there are going to be some VAT changes in 2021, at least based on current estimates. While they may change, and while it is a bit of a shot in the dark and a bit of speculation, there are a few changes that may be coming to VAT fairly soon. So the first one is to people who are in the construction industry, to CIS. And what's happening with CIS is the fact that any sales invoices are actually going to be treated with a reverse charge, which means VAT on sales as a construction company or as anyone within the CIS industry will actually not be treated as VAT that's owed to HMRC. And likewise, any construction suppliers who would normally have 20% who are within the CIS scheme would also not be able to reclaim that VAT.
Jack, so any difference on the cash flow do you reckon for clients in construction this change?
Yes, it's definitely going to make it a lot worse for the clients because they're actually receiving 20% less. So if they were having an invoices raised for 120,000, they'd only receive 100,000 with that because it's the net value. So therefore, they're missing out on that £20,000 that they could have spent elsewhere. Even though it's HMRCs, they could still use that and then pay the VAT bill later on when it's due. But obviously, in a short-term period, they will be losing out on cash flow purposes.
Yeah, definitely. Nathan, do you think QuickBooks has got anything up its sleeve that can help us, or?
Yeah, so this is something that QuickBooks has actually just been releasing more and more. It wasn't, I wouldn't say not the best at the start, but as QuickBooks are making more and more improvements, it's something that I know us as accountants are actually moving towards more. So upon the taxes page where you'd usually just find VAT, they have got a whole section which is actually there for CIS. And we're finding that, especially to do our submissions, it's actually a really, really useful piece of software.
Yeah. And while we're on CIS, Kirsty, can you remember, do we offer a CIS solution at all for anyone?
We do. It might not be listed on our website. We do have our main services on there, but if you're ever interested in anything that's a little bit more bespoke, it's always best to give us a call. So we do look after CIS, and I believe it's I think you can find it's £5 per employee per month. Really similar to our payroll package. So if that's something that you need help with, then you can certainly reach out to us.
Definitely. And James, going to put on the spot. Any other things changing in the world of VAT? Can you be aware?
Yes, of course. And this has been a change that really HMRC have been pushing for the longest time. So back in March 2019, they introduced what's called Making Tax Digital. And I'm sure if anyone listening is VAT registered, you've probably heard these 3 words so many times. Making Tax Digital, in short, is using bookkeeping software to submit VAT returns. In March 2021, as we estimate at the moment, this could very much change because of the COVID virus and the fact that perhaps the administration of applying yourself may be a little bit too much for clients at this time, which is what we're trying to weigh on for. That will now become Making Tax Digital will have to be something that is compulsory for all VAT registered businesses. From March 2019 and up until even today, unless you've hit that VAT threshold of £85,000, then you have no reason to be making tax digital unless you'd prefer to be making tax digital earlier. However, March 2021 is the estimated date, as what we know at the moment, as the date of when you have to be compulsory making tax digital, regardless of how much turnover you're making on a given year.
Great point. So, Kirsty, can you remember if there was any complications or not with the 64.8 process or anything like that when it came?
I was going to say, I'm shocked that James said it was March 2019. Doesn't feel that long ago that we started this.
Not at all.
No, so it was. There were 2 areas where you could submit a 64.8 is basically as an agent, we have to get authorization to work on your behalf. And that means so we can contact HMRC, we can speak to them over the phone, so you don't have to deal with the really long phone calls. And MTD, there was a bit of a sticking point because there were 2 different places to submit the authorization. I feel like things have evened out a little bit in terms of that. But I was going to ask as well, do we feel like that Making Tax Digital, is that online submission going to go across other areas, or do we think it's only going to be VAT they do this with?
Yeah, so I do just know from reading forums and that sort of thing that it is something that HMRC are looking to implement into the self-assessment tax as well. I think they are going to do it very similarly as they have done with VAT, as where they're going to sort of stagger it in. It's the people who tend to have like more tax due when it comes to the 31st of January will be first, and then once again it will come to the point where everybody does have to use at least some sort of bookkeeping software to file their self-assessment tax return.
It's actually, we've had clarification on that. It's April 24 that it starts. And April 20. Everyone over £10,000. So
is that £10,000 tax due, or is that £10,000 income? Taxable turnover.
Yes, turnover. So yeah, when that does come into play and when that is a thing, that's going to affect quite a lot of people. And more than most, it's going to be people who are renting property and things like that, where they don't normally have to worry about accounts and accountants and everything else. That'll be coming in. And then the very, very strong rumours and pushing towards a quarterly submission of your tax return as opposed to an annual submission. So
that's an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like they're trying to pull it. It's like they're trying to pull it in line with some sort of like VAT as well. So it's a bit.
Do you think that makes it easier for clients or more beneficial?
I think because it'll be real time, it'll be less of this. You come to the 31st of January and you've got this massive tax bill to pay. Because the idea would be that it won't be quarterly submission, but I assume they're going to want quarterly payments to go with it.
Yeah.
So from a cash flow point of view, you can see that it would be better off maybe. But obviously the cynical side is the fact that HMRC are then getting that tax earlier. You're going to have to pay your tax earlier. So there's kind of that point to look at as well. But, tax is tax. And what you don't want to do is end up at the end of January without any money to be able to pay for it. I suppose that is slight benefit.
The only other side of this as well is that people who usually are used to doing their own personal tax return, with it having to be compliant with the bookkeeping software, it does make it more reasonable for them to maybe push it towards having an accountant, especially if they do start having to do it quarterly, as it can be quite overwhelming, especially looking into bookkeeping softwares if you've never used it before. I would like to add at that point that Boffix do offer training for QuickBooks Online.
So Jack, what software would you recommend when it comes to making tax digital? Then is not just QuickBooks. Is there any others out there?
So we've got the big ones. We've got QuickBooks. We've got Xero. So they're our main two softwares that we use for filing VAT returns. But then there's the other ones out there, such as like Sage, that have been on the market for a long time, that have recently changed and be more making tax digital friendly. But we recommend QuickBooks first, then Xero, then the rest of them.
Yeah, definitely. And just to give you all kind of a bit of an insight, I was talking to someone yesterday, and there is an opportunity for these challenger banks. So when I say challenger banks, I'm talking about Revolut, Starling, Tide, so the ones we're involved with. But some of the others are starting to come to market, and they're not offering the opportunity to have a bank account with them, but also bookkeeping software with it as well. So that, I think, is what this is aimed at. This is aimed at that idea that if you've got some sort of, self-employed business and you need to have making tax digital compliant software, then they're baking it all into one. So instead of going into your banking app to just do banking, you'll be going into your banking app to also do your bookkeeping and submission of your returns and all that lot as well. So it's an interesting place, and it's one that we're definitely going to keep an eye on. At the moment, we're heavily rely on QuickBooks, and we rely on their integrations with the banks, but it's interesting to see how that's going to go over time. So great little topic there. Anything else anyone wants to talk about making tax digital? It's I know it's you guys' favourite topic, but
Of course.
spend all day on it. No, brilliant. Okay, let's look at a bit of a lighter topic then. Kirsty, what have you got to tell us about today?
So I was going to kind of piggyback on what we spoke about last month, which was the need for making sure that your work and personal life try and stay separate, even though you're working from home. So the nights are getting darker quicker. We're all turning lights on to record this today. And one of the things that I thought I would talk about is the need for, if you do work in a team, still doing something outside of work. So what we did recently is, when we were in the office, we used to have games nights. So we'd bring some games into the office and order some pizza. And when we came into the first lockdown, we did a couple. We've tried a few things. We've had some failures when we've tried to play Jackbox online and everybody's out of sync. There was one night where we played some more traditional games. I actually had really big, don't you remember Play Your Cards Right? I had those massive cards.
Yeah, that's an obscure one.
Out of all the games we've played, all the electronic games, the most popular game, the one that everybody got riled up about, was me holding up really big playing cards at the camera.
Honestly,
I've
it was
never
so
known anything like
suspenseful.
it. But we did this a little bit, and actually towards the end of the first lockdown, when we were over the past few months, we kind of fell out of practice. Everyone's become so busy that we were like, oh, we've not done one in a while. So we did one last week, and we played Among Us, which is a really popular game at the moment. Again, very suspenseful, but it's actually a really great one that you can play online. And so that's what we've been looking into. And I think it's key. Jack actually mentioned it this morning in a morning meeting. It's key to have the next one booked in, because if you don't, it doesn't happen. And I have to admit, I'm free to open this up as well for other people's thoughts on the games nights that we do and what kind of things we've been doing. But it's been really helpful, because you feel like you're still socializing, even though we can't really socialize at the moment.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think nowadays, because we're not in the office environment as such, even though we may chit chat a little bit, it feels more. I've never felt that you guys are colleagues as much as I did now, rather than more friends, if anything. So I definitely think this whole working from home has definitely made the team not as such. It's hard to explain, but it's really got a lot of the kind of friendliness and the close knittedness that we kind of had before. A lot of that's kind of eroded. So actually having these games nights as a chance to kind of breathe and actually see each other in a non-work capacity was really refreshing in my eyes.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is because we can be like really busy at the moment with everything that's going on, and just trying to give our clients as much support as possible. We can find that sometimes even our daily roundup meetings, which are meant to be a bit informal, they can get quite serious and quite get data filled and making sure that basically the businesses and all our clients are basically it's all going smoothly. So I just think it's just a really nice way for us to all just take a step back and just have something that's just a bit more laugh filled than serious.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know there's a thing as well that's been going around, which is like Zoom fatigue. And I definitely get this. And I know that not everybody wants to have another Zoom call with friends and family. But playing some of these games, it gives you a reason to have the call. So it's not that awkward. We need to think of something to talk about, but we've all been in lockdown, nothing's happening. It's really nice to have a game because then you're kind of having fun and you're focusing on something else. And it's just such a nice breather, like James said as well.
The only thing I'd point in is when we're talking about Among Us, you might just be a little bit critical of who you invite to that. There's potential for a few falling out. Careful, you've got to have a strong spine between all of you, otherwise.
I was surprised. We're quite a competitive group. I don't know if that's an accountant's thing, but I was surprised that we all actually got along when we played Among Us. I don't know if that will continue.
There was definitely a reason why I made sure not to play the game before. It's just so I couldn't get competitive when I played it because I was expecting to be rubbish.
I think a 3.5-hour game, I got very competitive after probably about an hour. And I'm not usually too competitive. So
after James got his first win, he was very confident.
Jack, have you got any kind of games you would recommend other than Among Us?
Recently, with Fall Guys coming out, I know it's Among Us has overtaken it in one of the most popular games, but if you've got a console, definitely Fall Guys, just to the interaction, and it's something fresh and something new just to enjoy because there's nothing really like it on the market. Maybe something from more older generation games, but there's nothing like modern. And with the recent update with having a new like levels, it's more like something different on the market to play. So yeah, definitely Fall Guys and definitely Among Us to try and you can play Fall Guys on your own and you don't need to play it with a group. So it's, if there's only one of you that can play, or if there's only a couple of you, that's fine. But with Among Us, you need a few, maybe unless you want to play with other random people, that's fine. But Among Us is a lot better when there's a group of people that you know that are playing.
Yeah.
Whereas Fall Guys, you can play on your own and try and get to the top, get your crown. Whereas you can have groups as Fall Guys as well.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I think our major tip for Among Us, because I think you guys were a bit skeptical at first when I suggested it, but we actually keep teams on at the whole time. So, you know, there's that whole having to pretend that you're not dead sort of idea. And
that was very tricky for me. The feeling of trying not to smile when I'd done something right as an imposter.
I think I saw a couple of dodgy
overwhelming.
I saw a couple of dodgy cup of teas go up a couple of times. It made people a bit sus, but I don't know.
Or if you want to try and say something once someone's killed you and you knew they were the person and you're trying to keep a straight face to not keep it away.
Yeah.
Or when you can tell one one's completely, you know, pulling the wool from the other people's eyes, and you're like,
oh,
don't get involved here, but you can't.
I would like to add that Among Us is available on Steam at a price of $3.99, but alternatively it is now on the Google Play and the iPhone Store, App Store, totally free. So you can invite all the family if you want to.
Yeah, it's good. And also, Aaron, you mentioned because some people that are watching this might not have colleagues that they play with, but is there other options in terms of playing with other people?
Yeah, so we found communities that are like Discord and them sort of one through. But we at Boffix, we help a lot of the reselling community. So there's a lot of resellers that are clients of ours and we look after, and they have a YouTube channel and they have a YouTube community, and more than welcome for anyone to come involved in that as well. So James Collects is the YouTube channel, so get yourself over there and you can watch us and you can also join in as well. Brilliant, everyone. Any other points to make over keeping yourself sane during this?
Yeah, I'd definitely try and get out of the house as much as you can, even though we're pretty much restricted to what we can do. just go out for a walk, take your dog out, go for a light jog, go for a run, just a few times a week, just to get some fresh air that you ideally need, rather than staying within your four walls 24/7. Yeah.
It's a good point, and I've even started to go out on lunch, because of course it's dark about 4 o'clock. So even if you need to rearrange your days to make the most of the sun while you've got it, yeah, it's definitely key.
Definitely. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, all. Thank you for giving us some insight. Let me go over to the other camera. And that's it. That is our second Boffix round table. So hopefully then you've been insightful and given some insight into what's going on. Remember, we're going to be recording this on a monthly basis. So if you do have any questions, or you have anything you want to bring in, do let us know on Boffix. hello@boffix.com, should I say. My name's been Patrick. This group here has been the rest of Boffix. So give a wave, everyone.
Oh.
With that then. With that then, it's just for me and Mulberry to say goodbye. It's for me and Mulberry to say goodbye, and we will see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Yeah. I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it's dark. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want. Yeah, I can be a fighter. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter if you want. Oh, the way that I feel, yeah, I know that it's real, 'cause I can get him out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah. You know I want him nah. My heart is saying yeah.
Hello and thank you for watching that video. What you may not know is this channel that you've watched this video from is part of a wider group. That wider group is called Apple Core Production, and the 3 channels that we have involved are as follows: Aaron Patrick, the QuickBooks Chap, Boffix Tax Tip. Finally, we have Apple Core Live and Geeky. All the links and everything are down below in the description, but it really means a lot to us if you can go and give a like to the other channels as well.